Hi friends, welcome back to the Weekly Tweek, a show that might pop up on your recommended list, but probably not, because we don't know how the algorithm works. This week, Taylor Swift is getting more hate than ever, and I know I touched on this last week, but Taylor was my ex's favorite artist, and I just really want to rub this one in, especially since I know she internet stalks me. Teen Vogue wrote in its review, Taylor Swift's new album is a more enjoyable listen if you don't take Taylor Swift, the artist, the persona, the person, so seriously. You could say the same thing about Jack in the Box's food. It's a lot more enjoyable if you don't take the fry cook, the greasy teen, the soap avoider, the person, so seriously. Just how we would find the dystopian uprising a lot more enjoyable if we stopped taking it so seriously. Friend CEO Avi Schiffman has been defending his eerie ad campaign that has taken over the New York City subway, with signs that said things like, "I'll binge the entire series with you," or "I'll never leave dirty dishes in the sink," and "I don't know if that dress makes you look fat, but if you give me your bank account info, I can order you a new one." In case you haven't heard, there is a new product on the market called Friend. It's a wearable AI companion that listens to everything you say and will send you a little text message throughout the day to keep you company. Now, before you start hating on this eavesdropping AirTag, just remember that this was literally the plot of Her, the 2013 movie with a romantic scene between Joaquin Phoenix, Kristen Wiig, and a dead cat. And it still got a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. And if we're going dystopian, I would much rather it be like Her than Idiocracy, which is slowly becoming more and more the case as Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. suggested there may be a link between autism and circumcision.
There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism.
I can't wait for the first reporter brave enough to ask Donald Trump if he's circumcised. I spent about half an hour trying to find out, and I went down some Reddit rabbit holes. No definitive answer was found, but statistically, he probably is. Over half of the baby boys in the 1940s had the procedure, and the highest concentration was among the Northeast population and wealthy families. And we are going to move on from that before I reveal any more of my search history. Let's talk about the Nobel Prizes. The Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded to 3 scientists, John Clark, Michel Devoret, and John Martinis, for their work on quantum mechanics. More specifically, the discovery of macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in an electric circuit. Yeah, I have no clue. I have a film degree. But thank you 3 for your discovery. I'm sure it will hurtle us one step closer to I have no mouth, but I must scream. But the ever-coveted Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to none other than not Donald Trump, despite his campaigning efforts, which is not how it works. Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition leader, has been awarded the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize for keeping the flame of democracy burning amid a growing darkness. And in an ironic turn of events, this democratic freedom fighter thanked Donald Trump of all people for the accomplishment.
The person who actually got the Nobel Prize called me and said, "I'm accepting this in honor of you because you really deserved it." A very nice thing to do.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting the vibe that Trump was the kind of kid that had the candles at a birthday party relit so that he could blow them out. And speaking of blown out candles, J.D. Vance was cut off during an interview on ABC after taking the time to not only criticize the network, but also to completely dodge a question about the Tom Homan investigation.
Than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
In case you haven't heard, in an undercover operation last year, the FBI recorded Tom Homan accepting $50,000 in cash after indicating he could help the agents win government contracts in a second Trump administration. That's illegal. And he confessed to it on tape. But in J.D. Vance's defense, I don't think anyone tells him anything. He's probably still walking around the Capitol building wondering where everyone is. Now you might be thinking, Lottie, That monologue was absolutely amazing, and you absolutely deserve to get a sponsor so your cameraman can buy a better microphone. But I think you kind of skipped a lot that happened this week. Well, my 27 dedicated viewers, don't you worry. We know that there is a lot going on, and frankly, it was difficult to find a nice way to bundle this fudge storm into a pretty bow that makes sense. So we've dedicated this next segment to everything that is going on and making it more digestible than Jack in the Box's Monster Munchie meal. Welcome to What the Fudge is Happening? As you're aware, our government is shut down. This has started to have some real effects on many U.S. citizens, from lack of air traffic controllers causing major delays and tarmac accidents to military families struggling to make ends meet.
I have 2 medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country. He suffers from PTSD from his 2 tours in Afghanistan. If we see a lapse in pay come the 15th, my children do not get the medication that's needed for them to live their life, because we live paycheck to paycheck.
And as we mentioned in a previous episode, a government shutdown happens when Congress can't decide on a federal budget. But it seems that the Republican Party is using this shutdown as leverage to get exactly what they want. For example, House Speaker Mike Johnson, seen here realizing why the chocolate bar he ate earlier tasted funny, was refusing to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva, who would be the deciding vote in releasing files about a very certain special Jeffrey Epstein. Johnson and much of the Republican Party are insisting that the government shutdown is the Democrats' fault. In reality, it's both sides. Both sides are responsible to come together and work as a team to figure out a budget that works for everyone. Of course, that's harder to do when half the team keeps deflating the ball and saying it's the other half's fault for not tying their shoelaces together. And while over 700,000 government employees are being furloughed, Trump has prioritized his solitary version of risk taking place here in the US. Because even though the government is shut down, National Guard troops are patrolling the streets of Chicago, Portland, and as of Friday, Memphis, Tennessee. At least 9 armed guard members began the patrol at the Bass Pro Shop located at the Pyramid. Look out, Kansas. Your ball of twine is next. Now, for Chicago and Portland, what's really happening? Not much. You've probably been hearing a lot about lawsuits and appeals that keep the National Guard at bay, but how does that work? Why does a court have more power than the president? Well, the specific courts that everyone is referring to are the Courts of Appeal, which is also the name of my next romance novel. In the US, we have 12 appeal courts divided up by region, and a 13th federal court of appeals. The job of each court is to make sure that the proceedings were fair and that the law was applied correctly. They don't gather evidence, they don't listen to testimonies, and they don't have juries. Their only job is to make sure the case was handled as it should be. So what happened is Trump says, I want to send the troops here. And that place says, no, thank you. And Trump says, they're coming anyway. And then that place says, well, our lawyers said you can't do that. And Trump goes, well, I'm going to ask my lawyers, the Court of Appeals. And the Court of Appeals is like, well, he can send them over, but they can't do anything. So then Trump is like, attack. And then the place is like, court says you can't, we're going to tell on you. So then the Court of Appeals is like, dude, stop. Like, we already let you send some just in case you're right about the whole liberal terrorist thing, but like, you need to chill. And as a threat, Trump is talking about invoking the Insurrection Act, which gives the president the power to deploy the U.S. military domestically. If invoked, it would put an end to this judiciary game of ping pong, but not in a good way. It's kind of a catch-22 for those living in these affected cities, since the only reason the guards keep getting blocked is because there aren't any tangible reasons for them to be there. So far, the protests are peaceful, and any incidents that seem to be happening are at the fault of the National Guards. But if the people start fighting back, which is starting to look like where this is going, then the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court would most definitely side with the president and let him keep making these calls. So that's what the fudge is happening. I'm sure it's only going to get messier, and in that case, we'll come back to this segment. But for now, we're gonna go bake something. Hi friends. It has been quite the episode with a lot of information about a lot of things. So we're gonna relax with our next segment, Edible Complex. Today, we're making pumpkin bread. Apparently you have to boil or mash a pumpkin and that takes forever, so I already did that off screen. Now I have this. I don't need it. Anyway, we're making pumpkin bread. I looked up a recipe, we're gonna go for it. So, step 1, preheat the oven. Guess what? Done. Next, I'm killing it. Grease a 8 by 4 inch loaf pan. I don't think I own one of those, but, oh God, I own this. I'm gonna wipe that down. In a medium bowl, combine the flour, salt, baking soda, baking powder, cloves, cinnamon, and nutmeg. Is that just everything I have? Large bowl. Medium bowl? It's a bowl. I need to put in 2 cups of flour. I do not own a measuring cup. I will be eyeballing this. That's 1 cup. I'm gonna say that's 2 cups. I feel confident with that. Half a teaspoon of salt. I have no clean spoons, but I got a fork. And I feel like a fork of salt is the equivalent of half a teaspoon of salt because it has the gaps. Oh, it's sea salt too. Oh God. Yeah, that looks right. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So this is gonna be 2 forks worth, mathematically. 1 fork and 2 forks. I'm gonna do a 3rd fork. Those forks seemed a little thin for me. Okay, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking powder. That's 1 fork, or 1.5 forks. I'm forgetting the ratio I'm using. Fork, fork, fork. Okay, half a teaspoon is like, probably that. 1 teaspoon of ground cloves. Okay, I knew beforehand that I did not have ground cloves. I have whole cloves. So I will be grounding them in front of you. Grinding? I'm gonna get something to grind these up. This is my boyfriend's birthday present. It's not his birthday yet. Yeah. Let's get some of that essence. Yep. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. We got that. Yeah. And 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. It's not labeled, but I know this is nutmeg. I put it in my chai tea. Oh, okay, yep. And that made up for the cloves. My gut's telling me this is gonna turn out great. 1.5 sticks of unsalted butter softened. Now, I already have half sticks, so I need 3 of these. Math. I'm gonna put them in a bowl. You're not supposed to do this. I would never normally do this, but I'm gonna microwave these to make them a little softer. I don't like doing that. The butter needs to go in a different bowl. Butter's going in a different bowl. I believe the butter goes in the same bowl as my mashed pumpkin. That feels good. Oh yeah, that's some softened butter right there. Bowl, butter, 2 cups of sugar. All right. About the same amount it's the same amount of sugar to flour. Is that a common ratio? 1 cup? It tastes amazing. 2 eggs. I need 2 eggs. You want to see a cool trick I can do with 2 eggs? Okay. One egg, one at a time. You know, some people go to school for this. I'm all self-taught. It looks bad. I cannot explain to you how confident I am in my baking abilities for this to just work out. Leave a comment, give us your address, and we'll send you a slice. See, look at that. That doesn't even look bad. Dare I say, possibly light and fluffy. Look at that. Look at that. That is happening. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing that? Look at that. That's definitely probably 2 cups of sugar in there. Mixing. That is a later issue. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I made the mashed pumpkin off screen. How much pumpkin do I need? 15 ounces. Look, I used 1 small pumpkin. I'm assuming that's 15 ounces. A little oh. It's heavy whipping cream, but it's basically half and half. I'll have to do something about the texture. Like, there's definitely chunks of butter in this. Okay, last step, I'm assuming, is to put this in. By the way, before shooting this segment, I made a huge deal about how I'm actually really good at baking. I'm really good at eyeballing stuff. Like, I pride myself on my ability to just do this. I'm questioning that right now. There's just chunks of butter in this thing. Oh my God. You see, now it's looking like the picture. Yes! Yes. Yeah. All right, kids. Here it goes. And we'll come back in an hour. Hi, friends. It has been an hour and our pumpkin bread is ready. And I'm ecstatic with how good it actually looks. I think it was the hammer. Oh. Yo! Yo! Are you seeing that? Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God. I'm going to see you guys next week. Oh, wow. Have a great week. And you guys should absolutely make some pumpkin bread. It's delicious.